record. All right. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. This is the regular SIG-Network call. It is May 22. As usual, we're governed by our code of conduct, which basically boils down to don't be a jerk. So please don't be a jerk. Not that we have ever had a problem with that with this wonderful group of people. We have a pretty light agenda today. If I recall, there was only a couple of items on it and I lost my window. Give me one moment while I reopen that. Yes, we only have a couple of items on it. So we can start with triage. And I lost you all. Moment. Too many windows open. Share window. Can everybody see that? Oops. Yes? Yes? Somebody say yes.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Cool. We have a flaking test, which of course Antonio has already started dealing with.
This is the load balancers. They request. This is the GC eternal problem with the title pool that takes too long. Scroll down or not?
This is the load balancers should target nodes with endpoints. You marked it as help wanted.
Oh, then it's not the other one. Because the Signal people reach out this week about the other one.
Oh, okay. Well, that might be further in the queue.
This is an easy one. When we collect the addresses, and it may happen that the node has multiple addresses, so it tries then to use the same index on the addresses collected and in the nodes, and in some of them, it panics.
I
So
see.
it's a simple one on the all by one thing, so it's good for new contributors or people.
Okay. So the test itself, the logic is actually broken in some circumstance.
Right.
It's not flaky. The test is broken.
Yes.
Okay.
It's flaky depending on the how they get the address.
I'm gonna mark
So
it.
it assumes that each node has only one IP.
Right, which is not a safe assumption. Okay, I marked it as triage accepted. If anybody wants to jump on an EDE test and earn brownie points with Antonio, that's how you do it.
The other one that I mentioned was the why I mean this. This was the man, I think, that checked me, right?
This one?
Oh, this is new. When is it?
It's a month old.
Oh, this is the first time I see.
We shouldn't assume that Antonio's fix everything.
I have some other thing. Okay, can you click there? What is the graph? Oh, it's okay.
What should we do? Leave it? Close it?
It's not failing now.
Goodbye. All right. And we're back to topics from a couple months ago. I haven't looked for updates. This is the rack. All right. Service cider, how to control allocations. Where do we leave this? Oh, this is like a tenanting issue. Antonio, what do you think?
I was short-sighted and thinking only on the problem of I want to compartmentalize my IP ranges, but I think that it's better to understand the whole picture, as you say. And honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
struggle with this because if you talk with people, there is, people that tenant is like a aggregation of clusters, other is a tenant is a subdivision of cluster, and other that tenant is something that can be everything. So
Well, we know in this case that a service cider is a cluster level resource. So a tenant must be a subset of a cluster, although it may be the same across clusters. The question is like, are we going to build something for this particular problem, or are we going to punt it because we don't have a general solution for tenants overall? I did tag in a bunch of folks who were looking for other tenant related topics, but nobody's acting on it right now.
the good thing is that this person put a webhook and a code that works, right? The question for the tenancy thing is that IP address is still unique across the class. You cannot have the duplicated IP address. That's when
Right.
some of the people in this topic fall apart because they want to say, oh, I want to create. That's what I'm saying is it's like a subcluster inside the class.
Yes.
I don't have clear this notion of, what objects are completely isolated from the other object. So if you take tenant as a logical division where the resources seeing each other, this works. If you take tenant as a logical, as a hard division where the objects in one place doesn't see the other objects, we cannot do it with service side.
I'm going to tag multi-tenancy. I'll follow up. I will ask another question here. I'm not sure that it's useful to keep this issue open on its own, but we have a broader question of, should resources like this follow some pattern that makes them friendlier to a concept of tenant? I think that the bigger question is, like, it's not just ciders, it's volumes and everything else that applies at the cluster level. Should we go through all of those controllers and say there's some notion of tenancy, and if you have this label, then you behave that way?
That's not a bad idea.
But it's a lot of work for what, like, I'm not against doing it, but we shouldn't do it for service cider and then not do it for other things, and then have somebody else do it differently in a different place.
Yeah, that's the point. That's why
Right.
has to be some.
I'll respond to that one. Let's move on. NF tables tests are flaky, filed by none other than Antonio.
This was the kernel version in the COS or the Ubuntu. I don't remember the man find the bug. I need to check back if this was it. Yeah, I will take it. There was one regression in the kernel that they purported something that.
Okay, close if we can. Awesome. Endpoint slice consumer helper funds. We're going way back now, which is these must have been open for retriage.
This
This
got bumped recently, I think.
Sorry?
This is,
yeah.
has some context. So, Adrian, you were first.
So I think, I'm assuming you're looking at recently updated. This got linked by a pull request that was open recently, which Dan was reviewing. Maybe I'm misremembering that.
No, you remember correctly. So Dan is trying to move to everything to endpoint slices. And one of the last pieces is in the API server. In the webhook, when you reference a service, you need to list the endpoint slices.
Oh God, that thing.
And the thing is that Jordan say, oh, we are not going to put an ON list of services. So he asked Dan to create, to use an index on the informer so they can look for the endpoint slices, in O1. And I think that the goal is to have a library. When I talked with Dan, last week. The goal is to have a library so people don't have to create this indexer and go to the informer and create all these things and just noise. If you want to get all the pointer slices related to a service, you don't have to list and filter. You just use it.
But sorry, I was while the page was scrubbing up and down, it seemed like someone made some code change that added something.
In which one?
Add endpoint consumer, or is that just an issue?
Yeah, no, that's what I was remembering. That's a pull request somebody's made that adds helper functions that Dan was reviewing.
But I think that was the one that was generated by AI and then get all
okay.
I
was like,
all the
first
threads.
of all, it's like triple XL in size.
Is it?
Maybe this one.
Yeah, it's like XXL.
It's unclear how much of it was AI generated, but the guy disappeared. So in answer to the question you started typing on the other thing, Tim, yes, I am working on this.
All right. Sorry, I didn't realize
you just joined us, right? Dan?
Yes.
We said his name 3 times.
I didn't think you were here, so we were just talking about you in third person. Sorry.
Yeah, and I thought that you were.
Okay. I'm happy to have this be triaged back in, as long as it's not just rotting away. Okay. Inconsistent behaviors about disabling health check server and metric server in Cube proxy. So this is really just documentation?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, we'll let it sit, pick it in 2 weeks. Service resource, this one. Where did we leave it? Yes. I don't even remember what I wrote. Feels like years ago. It was only weeks ago. And then Dan responded. Okay. What do we want to do with this? I mean, realistically, are we gonna? Is there justification for adding the alternate selector? It doesn't seem to be a giant pain point for a lot of folks.
Yeah, and are we concerned that some things that actually parse it would not know about it forever?
I mean, we already say if the selector is empty, then the endpoints come from somewhere else. Like, I think that gives us air cover to do it if we want to do it. Question is somebody going to step up to do the 3 release ballet of adding a new field to a stable API and all the testing and there's a lot of service related tests.
What's the quick summary of what the issue was?
The issue, so service is an old API and it uses the sort of map based selector. But at some point selectors change from being map based to being this sort of expression based. And so the request is, could we support the new set expressions for services? Instead of saying, foo equals bar, you could say foo in bar or bat.
Oh, that stuff. Okay. Yeah.
Right. Match expression.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just don't it doesn't come up often enough to think that it's really that important.
I just get concerned that things that translate service into something else might take forever to come around to this.
Yes, that's entirely possible. There are things that embed service just to get the selector behavior. It's a lot of wondering. I'll go ahead and I'll take this and I will probably just close it. Any objections? Okay. Cool. Let's stop sharing. On the agenda, we have Damon. Is Damon here? or was it Dan who put it on the agenda?
I think Damon put it there, but yeah, I guess he's not here. I think I kind of know what he was asking about, though. He had started working on the kubeproxy config API stuff a while back, and just because it was an open cap that nobody was working on, he was like, "Oh, I'll pick this up." And we had some ideas about how to make things better, change the defaults so that people start up with a more secure kubeproxy and stuff like that. But some of the changes have been really annoying to get through without breaking existing configs, and so I think he might be wondering if it's really worth pursuing this, or if we don't really care if our config file format is alpha 1 forever.
So there was some pressure that I thought was reasonable to say, look, if you had your config in alpha 1 for the last 8 years, it's GA. Like, it is de facto GA. Just deal with it, call it GA, and be done. I honestly do not know how many people use the kubeproxy config file, or really what problems they have with it. When I look at it, I see a mess, but we know all the details of what's going on inside, so we see that.
Yeah, the big problems were, one, it's a mess, and two, some of the defaults are bad. Like, let's have node ports on every single IP address and things like that.
Right.
Let's have localhost node ports by default.
It seemed like a good idea at the time. So is the question, should we just abandon it and call this GA, or like, what's blocking us from actually moving forward? Is it just review bandwidth? I will admit that I have not made time to review it.
Yeah, sort of, some of it is trying to figure out, if we are going to make things better, what does better look like? And there have been a handful of things where he started implementing it one way, and then like Antonio will look at it and be like, "Oh, no, actually we should do something different than what Dan suggested." And it's like, "Oh yeah, actually that is better than what I suggested." But
on my defense, this was one of the tests with load balancer has a dependency on something that we didn't know, and we changed that value, and all these tests started to fail. That was the main contention point on the review. I agree that the things shouldn't depend on that value or on that configuration, but it was like it was, and if it breaks.
Another thing is that the configuration currently, like, you can override one node IP, but on a dual stack host you can't override both node IPs, right? And there's all this really weird stuff actually about how stuff is configured in single stack versus dual stack, because we just kind of bolted on dual stack quickly at the last minute. But at the same time, no other components are doing this any better than kubeproxy is. So there's nothing really where we can compare and say, how should we fix this? Should you be able to have metrics on both IPv4 and IPv6? Is that really important to anybody?
So I'm hearing we don't know what we want to do with it, and it's not super important. But at the same time, the longer we leave it as V1 alpha, the more GA it becomes. Like, do we just call it GA and say this is terrible, and we hope one day to do a V2 and have better defaults in V2, but it's just not a priority?
That's a possibility.
I mean, I don't love it, but it's probably better than what we're doing right now.
We also have still the problems of config versus flags that we.
Sorry, say it again.
The config versus flags. There are flags that override config. Yeah. There are configs that override flags. So I don't think that is just only the schema. It's the general thing.
That's a problem. A lot of the component-based stuff is like half-cooked because the people who are building that try.
Well, the kubelet is worse, but I mean,
that's not a very good metric.
But what I'm trying to say is that not only the config, the flag versus the config is even worse, because not knowing what you are going to get is
Yeah, there was a
confused.
bug recently where somebody was like, "Oh, this option doesn't work," and it's because they were using a config file and specifying the option on the command line, which is even documented as not working, but is very unexpected.
And there was another one that the config was the 0 value, so you don't put anything, and it was overriding the flag when Patrick added the login, whatever JSON login on the other thing. So that's what I'm saying is that
I
whole
mean,
thing.
is it worth just to, because an alternative is we just look at it, just fix all the bad defaults, and then release it, and then if anyone cares, we would at least know that people use it and care. Like it sounds like it's like we neither know like if people will care, and right, it's like this weird like
to fix the bad defaults though, we have to write the sort of conversion between them, right? So
I see.
So
like,
one thing here, what Tim, you were saying about, we could just call it GA and then maybe someday we'll do a V2. I had been assuming that we needed to keep supporting V1 Alpha 1 forever, because
it's been so long.
Yeah. So
right. Yes, I think we have waived our right to break alphas by leaving it in alpha for 7 years.
Yeah. So maybe we should just call it V1 and maybe have V2 someday.
Okay. Damon's not here. Dan, do you talk to him on a regular?
Yeah, I can talk to him.
Okay. I would be okay with that. Like it's better than just leaving it the way it is.
And if we do V2, we can move IPVS and Windows and all the other stuff out.
I mean, that's what I really wanted, was that we would restructure the whole thing so that IPVS had IPVS flags and IP tables had IP tables flags, and we didn't use flags between them.
I'm going further. IPVS out.
Oh. You mean remove it from kube proxy entirely?
Yes.
And
Windows.
That's a topic. Why don't you put it on the agenda for one of our SIG-Net meetings and we'll discuss it. Is anybody actually maintaining IPVS now that Lars is sort of retired?
No, that's why the question. And somebody from one company, Dan, you were there. They have a bug with the netlink thing that the netlink, there was some race with netlink and the Golan library. And they say, oh, we are using IPVS extensively and blah, blah, blah. I say, okay, well, you know that the only person maintaining is not doing that since 1 or 2 years ago. And
I think we've mostly been telling people in IPVS bugs, have you tried NF tables?
Yeah, I think it would be wise to maybe start that conversation. It could be something for Contrib Summit for US. I mean, I don't know how many other places in the project we have taken such a large end of lifing. Docker Shim is maybe the only one.
Well, the cloud providers.
Cloud provider, thank you. Okay, 2. So we've got 2 examples to lean on, neither of which went particularly well.
But Dan, as I understand it, NF tables is the equivalent performance and everything, right? Like there is strictly no advantage now for IPVS.
Theoretically, IPVS has some weird things like if you don't want round robin scheduling, you can pick some other scheduling mode that IPVS supports. In practice, that's not nearly as useful as it should be because each node behaves independently.
Right.
So
devolves into random.
I feel like everybody ought to be able to move to NF tables. Oh, well, and then there's the kernel issue. Like you need a much newer kernel to use NF tables than you do for IPVS.
Probably the real reason. Okay.
There are still some people who might still be on old stable distros that won't work well with NF tables.
So maybe that's the discussion for Contrib Summit. Like we need to make a change where we start to end of life IPVS fairly urgently because there's no maintainer. We would like to end of life IP tables because it is naturally coming to its end of life, and Windows is sort of a constant thorn in our paw. NF tables should, once everybody's kernel catches up, supplant all of these except Windows and is actively maintained. but it's going to be a multi-year proposal. Kat's going to love you. Hey, Kat, can you lead the comms for deprecating kube proxy everything except NF tables mode? I'm sure she'll be happy to help you out.
I wasn't even thinking about deprecating IP tables because we have the feature like NF tables does not support local host node ports as currently written, right?
Okay. We deprecate doesn't always mean remove. Like I think IPVS does need to eventually go away because it is actually unmaintained. IP tables, at least, there's a handful of people who can fix it if need to be. You, me, Antonio, and Windows is a black box to most of us. Okay. All right. That was it for the agenda, unless somebody's added something since. No, that's our agenda. Anybody have other topics they would like to talk about? Or maybe we take a quick look at KEPs? Because the KEP freeze is in a month. Give me one moment to reload that window.
Oh, Dan, do you know what the status is of the probes? It's not necessarily related to networking, but the probes refactoring and that Surya was doing?
So the pod security emission portion of that is moving forward in 1.34. The actual probes part is probably just there'll be more discussion, but not clear if there'll be any implementation. We talked with maintainers, SIG-Node people about it at KubeCon, and had sort of come to the conclusion. We came with two ideas, and I'm realizing now that anything that moves the probing into the pod network namespace, we're going to have problems at startup because the pod will probe is ready before the network plugin actually attaches it to the network. And so we had talked about, maybe needing to have a network readiness condition, like add something that network plugins are expected to implement as a pod readiness. What's it? The pod readiness
Node?
plus whatever it was called.
Readiness gate.
Yeah, as like suggest that network plugin should implement a readiness gate indicating when they have fully wired a pod to the network. But anyway, so yeah, it is moving forward.
All on the. Is this all? I know that there was some comments to have it split into multiple pieces. Is that conversation on the main one, or is like the on a? Anyways, I would love to get CC'd on that thread if possible.
Okay, there hasn't really been, I mean, other than the conversations that happened in person at the talk at KubeCon, there hasn't been much discussion since then. So
It's number one on this board.
It is. But sorry, did you say we were going to break it up into multiple KEPs? That's the last memory I have of this board.
The PSA part got split out, and that is now a SIG-Auth KEP.
Okay, so we don't need to track that.
And we'll be going into 1.34. Did you say we do want to keep track of that?
You don't need to put it on our dashboard, though.
Okay, yeah. There's currently no plan to split up the kubelet probes, in part because we're still figuring out exactly what the implementation is going to be. So
okay, let's run down the list real quick then. What am I sorted on? Okay, that seems fine. Endpoint slice controller flexibility. This was Lionel's thing about something about endpoint slices, right? If I remember, yeah. Yes, pulling out all the logic. Does anybody know?
This is about making it generic, but all the requests, I was talking with another person from, I don't know, it was Isobavent or whatever. So the idea is, you make it generic so that we don't have to maintain it. And I'm asking them, but are you sure that you are going to have the same requirements and you don't need to modify? And they say, I don't know. So then you put it here, we maintain it, and then when it starts drifting, what do we do? And what I suggested is just come up with something that we can see, and then when we find the right abstractions, we provide the right abstraction.
So Lionel said this is paused for now, so we'll just leave it in uncommitted for the moment. Let's run the list. I know we have at least one or two that aren't even on the list, probably. Cube proxy stuff went GA. We're supposed to clean up in, why did we say 33? It should be 34, right?
I was moving this thing, so maybe it's an antenna wrong.
Okay.
I was
Merge.
updating this the other day.
Did you set merged? I don't like this merged column. I think I'm going to get rid of it. But the idea was to track whether for this current release, is that code already merged or is it pending? Right, anyway,
Okay,
let's go back.
but now with the new, now it's closed, right? So we don't need it. You agree with the release team to close once it's the
So yeah, the KEP can be closed, but we still need to do our cleanup, right?
So how do I see?
Let's look.
What is the cleanup next? Is the thing that is going to
Removing the
indicate
gates. Yeah, the gate's still. Oh no, the gate's not present. The gate was removed. Okay.
that. No, you cannot remove the gate.
Yeah, it's not in my. I'm looking in the tree and it's not there. So
Oh, but then we
unless we
if
renamed it.
if we remove the gate.
It got removed in 133, it seems.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
there's
Put
a
it back in
changelog line
33.
from 133.
And I will say.
But it's a key proxy only gate, right?
Okay, that's probably why.
Because
Okay.
otherwise we need this for
Done.
the compatibility thing.
Done since 33. Next is nothing. It's in nothing. And sort that back away. All right. Cube proxy component. Whoops, that was not what I meant to do. Sorry. Cube proxy component. Dan to talk to Damon and see what we want to do with this.
Yep.
I'll target it for 34, but we'll see. Prefer same node.
So that is now alpha in 1.33 and next is beta in 1.34.
33.
But this is the alias only, right?
This is this prefer same node and prefer zone. They're in the same cap.
Right. So we're holding the GA of prefer zone until. Oh no, that's
prefer
the renaming.
close went GA. The prefer same zone alias is still alpha.
Got it. Okay. Relaxed DNS search string. That is waiting for cleanup. Is that right? Yes. Still
Did
see
it
the
go
label.
GA in 133?
Did it?
I don't remember doing that.
Let's look. DNS search. I can't type.
Now we're in beta at 133. So GA in 134.
Okay. It went beta in 33. GA in 34. All right. Cool. Where did we leave off? I hate that that reorders me.
I think 3 is the
3. IP CIDR validation improvements. Dan.
Yeah, that is now alpha. I don't remember.
Planning to push it ahead?
So according to kep.yaml, we need 3 releases.
For alpha?
From alpha to beta.
Why did we decide that? I don't remember. Do you?
I don't either. I would say leave this. I can dig back into that and figure it out, and then update the spreadsheet.
I just lost it. Where did it go? Okay. Back to 3. Deprecate V1 endpoints.
That is now alpha, and it will still be alpha in 1.34. It's just sort of going to sit for a bunch of releases at this point until we feel we're ready to move further with it.
Beta and TBD. Okay. For cluster domain downward API, it did not go alpha in 33. I pinged the issue to see if we want to move it forward. I would be happy to move it forward. It grew in scope a little bit, but I think it's worth trying to get. So that's on me. Number 4, TLS credentials and gRPC probe. I don't even remember what this one was.
Is that closed? It's got a little gray icon on the left there.
Closed as not planned. Did it just get aged out? It looks like it just got aged out. What's the proposal? Oh, shoot, it's on me. Dang it. All right.
We don't even have TLS, or do we?
Sorry?
I think that there was one just to add TLS to the gRPC probe.
Yeah, if I remember, the change was actually really small, right?
But is this one?
Sorry, am I projecting? I don't know what I'm projecting.
I see the cap.
Okay. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
I
the
thought that
one.
one was like approved or something.
It might have just gotten lost in bureaucracy. My fault. I'll look at it today or something. I reopened the issue. Hopefully we can go alpha in 34.
I think that the idea was not to use credentials, just to enable TLS by the HTTP.
Right.
Yeah. The credentials is like seemed like more than what that Kep was talking about.
Right. All right. Next, multiple service siders. Antonio, that's GA in 33, so cleanup is in 36, right?
But there is, you wanted, when we started, you mentioned sometime to say, oh, why if we use we have two feature gates. One is to have the dual write. What if we use the second feature gate to delete all bitmaps on the etcd server? What's your idea? I don't know if you were serious about that or it was just.
I don't even remember, honestly. So it's not a simple cleanup, right? Because we want to maybe do that extra phase.
No, that's why I'm asking. There is two feature gates. Feature gate.
Right.
One is the one that enables the dual write, and you can use one release to tie this cleanup of the old bitmaps to this, secondary feature gate. But I don't know if that is going to be very invasive.
I don't know off the top of my head either. I mean, we could leave them and just abandon them. That doesn't seem nice. But they're not huge.
64 key max.
Yeah. All right, let's let me mark it as cleanup in 36. Maybe we want to open a second KEP that is to go remove those, and then we can evaluate it separately.
Great for me also.
I am looking at you.
I'm sorry, why is 37 ordered before 36?
Because somebody edited it.
Okay.
I just updated.
Cool.
I just updated the IP cider thing. We had decided to do 3 releases because when the feature gate is enabled, we no longer accept cider strings that have bits set beyond the prefix length. And so we wanted 3 releases of warning about that before we started.
Okay, so did you update it here?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay. Happy now, Adrian?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, where do we leave off? Oh,
13.
13. Okay, cool. We made it all the way down there. No, we missed some. There's cloud down TLS. Load balancer
Oh.
behavior. 10.
When is that just
Which-
waiting for 135?
Which issue was that? I don't remember which issue this was. It's
This,
closed, right?
this
This
is the
is
one that has the
IP
status,
mode.
right?
This is IP mode.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay, so GA, so it's cleanup in 35. All right, so that's fine. We'll just leave that. Resource claim with standardized networking stuff.
They want to put it as beta in 134, enabled by default, and graduate only to GA the structure parameters DRF. The
Wait,
normal
so
DRF.
but what is it now? Is it alpha or beta now?
Beta,
It's beta now in 33.
yes. And it will be in 34 beta too.
Okay, so we don't have a GA time for it yet?
It will be 135 if everything goes well.
Okay, got it. That's the hope then. Okay, good. We did multi-service cider.
Yeah.
We did this, we did that. These are all just in cleanup mode. Okay. Validation improvements we talked about. Okay, and these are done. What are we missing? Adrian, I know we're missing yours. Do you know the KEP number?
I'll get it for you now.
And I don't see the one. Dan, you had one for load balancer status.
I do. That should be in there as one of the like
I didn't.
unscheduled help wanted, whatever.
5315 is the one I'm working on now.
5315. I got it here. And okay. And right now it is uncommitted, but we're hoping for
Alpha 134, I guess.
alpha and 34.
Yeah.
Resort. Okay. Are there other ones that we're missing here?
So the load balancer service status improvements number 4631 is in there somewhere. It should be green.
There we go. Oh, it's marked as currently uncommitted. What did we do with it?
It's still uncommitted.
Oh, okay. What do you want to do with it?
Well, I actually tried. I added help wanted to a Kubernetes issue about flakes and the load balancer things, hoping to get somebody to pick that up.
Okay. So it's still something we want, but it's uncommitted. Nobody's picked it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, and back to my one. I gave you the pull request issue number and not the
I
issue.
clicked it. I found
Did
the
you get
issue. Yeah,
Gotcha,
sorry.
cool.
I sent you off looking for it, and then I looked for it myself. Because I happened to have the window up. I haven't seen this one. Support for DSR overlay in Windows Cube Proxy. Does anybody know about this? January from Mark Rossetti. Nobody has even heard of this one.
Well, that's one of the features that they just removed, I think, because it's one of the ones that had been alpha for, yeah, alpha 1.14. So maybe they're just trying to pick it up again. And
I think that this was the one that was alpha enabled by default, and everybody started to panic with that. And
anyway, it's all in the Windows Cube Proxy code, so it's doesn't affect us other than that.
Well, but we still need to track it. It's still on our SIG, right?
I think it's owned by SIG Windows and just participating. SIG
Oh, okay, got it. All right. Okay, that's looks like it's all of the new ones. We have cluster down, we have deprecate. DRA is more advised. Okay. All right. So is that it for KEPs? Are there any others that people are going to bring up for this cycle? Okay.
I had already started writing a cap about moving IPVS or deprecating IPVS, so I may get around to pushing that, but it's going to just be lots of discussion for this cycle, I think.
That's fine. If you open the issue, just throw it in here and mark it as, uncommitted, and we'll get to it. Quick last look. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that we're hoping to touch in 34. That's not too bad. I feel like there's one that's missing, but I can't recall what it was. Something about, the host name FQDN, is that in here?
Oh, that's super complex. I didn't know. Yeah, that's why.
Why is it marked as done?
No,
Yeah,
the one,
the
the
second
number
one.
2.
Oh, yeah, here.
Yeah.
It's pre-alpha. I'm going to mark it uncommitted. So we look at it. Okay, so that one's assigned to me. I'll try to look at it. Any others? All right. I'll go ahead and leave that open. I got to respond to one issue. Any other agenda? We're at the end of our hour almost. Okay. Anybody going to KubeCon Japan? Nobody?
Where is it?
Tokyo.
Japan.
Oh, nice. Are you going, Tim?
Yeah, I'm going to go mostly because we have a family trip to planned anyway, so it just happens to line up. And I'm going to go and visit and go to the community days and make some customer meetings at the same time. It's an excuse to spend an extra week in Japan. Okay, cool. I will stop our sharing. Where's the sharing? Stop sharing and record. Whoops. Record, stop.